So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Photoshop. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop CC. This is a raw, stacked, straight out of Deep Sky stacker. I might do another video on that. Depends on how well my videos do. But this is basically a raw file, and the image mode is in 32-bit. So for my personal taste, I like to do all of my linear stretching in a 32-bit format. So we can kind of see some of the nebulosity and some of the stars. So right now, we want to go in here to adjustments, levels, and then we want to bring this white slider over to the data. Just right there at the data, without clipping it. Always click OK. And we're just going to keep working this process. Back into levels. We're going to bring the gray slider over to the left towards the data. This is our histogram peak. You can see it's pretty narrow. We got some data in here. So basically our goal is to stretch this to make this come out a lot smoother and to expose more of the information. And that's our goal. So we're going to bring this gray slider over to the left. I like to usually come in like 1.2, 1.3, not too much. Small steps, baby steps. Click OK. Click OK and let it settle after every action. Back in here, adjustments, levels. Move the keyboard. We're going to bring our black slider into our data. And click OK. Adjustment, levels. We'll bring that gray slider back over. Working a little bit at a time. And what this does is it starts to spread. You see how it's starting to spread out the histogram. And I'm like, me personally, I'm cool with it being about that wide, somewhere in there, about that far off the left-hand side. I know, I've just started this, so don't grade me on technical talk. And I'm going to bring this gray slider one more time, just a little bit. And click OK. So I can already see, I don't know if you can see this, I've got some stacking artifacts down here. That's just from framing right in here. So what I'm going to do is image levels, bring the black point over so I can see those artifacts. So right in here, right in here, and I'm going to crop this, just crop them out. Try to center it up. Got the good nebulosity in here. And we're going to click Image, Crop. And for the Omega Nebula, I like to, since I'm shooting with a reflector, everything's upside down, theoretically. So, but for this one, to me, it suits my eye better to rotate it 180 degrees. So we go into Image, Image Rotation, and then we're going to rotate it. So now that we got to that point, we're going to change the mode to open up more options. So we go to Image, Mode, 16-bit. And then the method here, we want to change this to Exposure and Gamma. And click OK. So what that done is it's pushed all of our data almost centered up over here. And so we want to bring that back in levels. It's also showing us that we've got a pretty good gradient in there. Click OK. So from this point on, I like to start duplicating my copies so that a lot of people use these adjustment layers. I don't really use them. Maybe I will someday, but right now I just keep duplicating my copies. Sometimes I name them, sometimes I don't. I've found in my doing this that I very rarely go back to look at the names of what I've done. I just kind of start saving this stuff off, which I'll show you here in a bit. So right now what we're seeing here is a pretty good gradient, and we can help some of this. You see this red over here, red channel. If you look at, we go here to channels, you're going to look at the red channel. See, all this is noise, 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 and then data. Green channel, a little bit of data. Blue channel, even less data. But if we drop this down to show the colors, you can see how everything's pretty well lined up, but I've got all of this extra information out here, and what that is noise. So using Gradient Exterminator, so let's say plugins, about $50 for Photoshop, we're going to get rid of some of that. So my first steps is I don't want to process noise. I don't want to deal with noise. I don't want to think about noise. I don't want to mess with noise. I want to get rid of as much noise up front before I'm starting to stretch and do other things as I can. So I'm really not going to mask anything. I'm just going to come in here to my lasso tool, and I'm just going to freehand lasso around what I can see is the nebulosity. And a lot of this is because I know what this looks like, so I'm able to do it. If you don't, you may want to curve it up just a little bit, but I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to, once we've selected our nebula, we're going to go in here to select inverse, because we want to work on this portion of it, not this portion. And then filter, RC Astro, Gradient Exterminator. Now for the first run of Gradient Exterminator, I like to do medium detail and medium aggressiveness. I typically do not like to go up and define and high aggressiveness. It makes the background blotchy to me. So we're just going to run this and see what it looks like. So that kind of evened everything out. I'm going to select, deselect that. That looks pretty good. Now you see how it's completely pushed that red over and changed the shape of our histogram peak. So now we're going to get rid of some noise. So we come in here, we can create a copy, duplicate it. We can rename this one, so we know what we did there. Now we're going to name this one background, just for the sake of the tutorial. So now that we've done that too, you see our histogram's been pushed off the left again. So we always want to keep checking that. Go back in here to image adjustment levels and move that slider back over. We still got a little bit of a gradient, but it's really helped out right there. They talk about don't clip in your data. Well, a lot of my data right in here is noise. So I'm cool with pulling off just a little bit of it. So now we've done that, we want to kind of protect our nebula and our stars. So the way we're going to do before we do any noise reduction, so the way we're going to do that is we're going to come in here to select color range. We're going to choose highlights. We're going to move that range slider over so you start to see. I want to blow it out, about that much in here. So if we come into our stars, I feel like we've got a good selection around our stars, but it's a little jagged. So instead of expanding that selection, modify it, we're going to come in here to select, modify, and we're just going to feather that selection by 3 pixels. That kind of rounds everything off. So now what we want to do is we want to take that selection and move it up on top of the background as a copy that's being protected while we do background work. So to do that, we come in here and go layers, new, layer by copy. Now I like to be able to see the changes, so I'm going to duplicate this background copy. And the next thing we're going to use is a plugin called the Astronomy Action Toolset. I'm trying to come in here too. See all this noise. So in our actions, this is another plugin. We want to come down to and run deep space noise reduction. Just hit play. With the background copy selected. So it's just doing its thing. And it's done. So you see our red channel here that's got the noise in it. That's bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller. Look at the screen. No noise reduction, noise reduction. So now that I've run that, I'm going to run another one called space noise reduction. And that's a more global noise reduction action. And this usually only takes just a few seconds. So yet again, noise, noise gone, noise, noise gone. And the last thing I like to do in this level, or in this layer, is come in here and go filter, camera raw filter, and come into the details tab, and I'm going to move this luminance noise reduction and color noise reduction about 30%. And I'm going to also probably darken it up just a little bit by dropping the exposure just a little bit and decreasing the blacks. Click OK. So you can see right away, before all the work, after all the work. I don't know about you, but that's badass. So now we can just take this information up here and merge it back down. And with that being said, now we can run one more time space noise reduction, and we can use the opacity on that if we don't like how much it's taking away our details, because it will smooth out some of the details that we're fighting to keep. Yes. Okay. So you can see the horrible noise. We're going to do this. So this has been all of our noise reduction all on this background copy. Big time difference. Okay. So at this point in time, we've basically cropped it. We've done a gradient repair. We've reduced the noise. So we're at a point where I like to save it. So I'm going to come here to File, Save As. And I usually try to save it as what I'm doing. So the date, 15, 19, I'm going to call this process 1. Save. It's going to say include layers. We'll increase the file size, and we're cool with that. So now once we've done that, there's really nothing in here that I want to go back to. So I'm just going to come in here and layer and go flatten image. Once again, I never like working on a background layer because I have to go back to it. So I always want to make a copy. So this little icon down here, you just drag it like that, and then makes a copy. See, we've really reduced that noise quite a bit. So we can go in here and just adjust our levels over, keep moving that back over to keep that dark background. It looks to me like we've got, still have a little gradient, so we can run that gradient exterminator one more time. And the lasso tool, now we can kind of see our nebulosity a little bit better. Now this time, filter, actually astro gradient exterminator, I'm going to choose a fine detail, but medium, keep that, I don't like to go to the high aggressiveness. We'll see how it blends it in. Oops. We forgot to inverse it. Let's see what it does. That's pretty good. Select, deselect. So now we're starting to get a good edge. So we can duplicate that copy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on some curves. So now we're going to come in here to adjustments, curves. And the first curve I like to make is a real global. And by global I mean we're going to be working on everything. So we're going to pull it up in the center, start brightening up things up. We're going to pull this down to create some contrast. Back down to the line. Now we really start seeing our nebula. So now that we've done that, come back in here to curves. Let's do that one more time. Maybe not pick it up so much. Pull this back down. Pull the star level down just a little bit. So now we're starting to get a good detail. So now we've got the stars. I think, to me, I'm bright enough on the bright parts. So we're going to run this curve, or we're going to work this curve one more time. Image, adjustment, curves. So this time, you'll see this little hand. We're going to click that hand. We're going to come up in the dark part of the sky here. Maybe somewhere in here. We're going to click that right there. So we're setting our black point. And we're going to anchor it by coming right to the back of it. If it bows down like that, you see these numbers off, you just want to even them up to the lowest number. Now we've anchored that point. We're saying we don't want this dark to get any darker. And we're going to do the same to our bright point. You see our stars super bright there, and you got to zoom in on them sometimes. You follow a little diffraction spike out and it gets less. So we want to be somewhere right in there. So we don't want our brights to get any brighter, or our highlights. And once again, we're a little off, so we just even that up to the lowest number. So now we're pretty bright in here, but a lot of this out here we can raise up. So we're going to find out, you see how that's moving, see how bright that is. It's almost brighter than our stars. So we want to lift up some of this darker nebula, some of this red in here. So it's right here at the front of the peak. So now we've anchored our dark point, we've anchored our white point. We're just going to pick up our data. So you see basically the preview. So before, after. So you notice we picked the nebula up for a little bit of the starlight in there. But we really boosted this without really affecting much else. Okay. Now we're starting to get this taper. So if we look at it as a whole, this is a good looking histogram. And then once again, make a few actions, check your levels, bring your black slider over just for some contrast. I'm noticing in this image, I've got some haze in here, but we're going to clean that up a little bit. We're going to do another curve stretch. Again, select the hand, go up here to the dark part of the sky, right here. So Now we've moved over so close we can't even anchor that anymore. That's cool. So like this point here, follow that little diffraction spike. And then we're just going to pick it up right in the middle. And we forgot to anchor it, so we are going to anchor this point because we don't see how that bent down. So now we're just going to pick it up in the middle. So I'm kind of digging it. I'm not digging it so much. I'll bring that down just a little bit. You see how much we brought it up, hardly anything, but we've really made the nebula stand out. Okay. Cool. So that being said, I think that's about all the curves adjustments. So now what we're going to do is a really cool tool that I like to use. It's called the Selective Mask feature. So we're going to make another copy. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here to select color range. So this time we're going to choose simple colors. With this first little eyedropper selected here, we're going to choose this background layer here. It's a little dark. I like to work from out to in. And adjust the fuzziness until, because this would be too much because we're picking up a lot of this background red. We're going to adjust this fuzziness down so we see in the mask here that we've gotten our nebula. It's just our nebula. We're going to click OK. So backing out, we come back in here to select the mask. And we're going to move this feather slider over until the stars disappear. And the first time you do this, it's going to look a little funky, so we may have to do some contrast. Okay. So when you've seen your marching ants go to a big wide pattern like this, I don't want to work on the rest of it. I just want to work on what's highlighted. So what I want to do is come back in here and isolate that layer, new layer by copy. And we can do a lot of things with this. And come in here and go adjustments, curves, boost it. What I think I want to do, since we're already pretty bright, I think I want to just boost it on the red side. And I'm going to come in here to image, adjustments, vibrance, and increase the vibrance. And the saturation. And then one thing I really like to do to really smooth this out is come in here to filter, camera off filter. The camera off filter is only going to work on what's on that layer, which is pretty cool. So again, slide the luminance and color noise reduction over. I may boost the exposure just a tiny little bit and the clarity just a tiny little bit. And click OK. There. So I'm just taking left click and merge that back down. Select color range. And we're going to choose some of this brighter. If you want some more, just click on the plus. I'm just choosing some of this brighter red, pinkish stuff in here. Just our fuzziness. Click OK. You see what we've selected in here. So like, once again, we come in here to select the mask. Pull the feather slider over until the stars disappear. Which on this monitor they don't. They just go crazy. And then we're going to come up here to layer, new, layer by copy. And we can image. Now we're just working on that one layer. Adjusting it. Curves. Go here to the red channel and boost that just a little bit. We can actually start working on some color adjustments. So we can do color balance. See, we can make just how red we want that. And our midtones, our shadows. Change the whole look of it if we want to. I like to try to keep it as natural as I can, or whatever comes out of the camera is as natural. And once again, we're going to come in here and we're going to smooth it out just a little bit. Camera raw filter, details tab, luminance, color. Come over here to the basics tab, boost the exposure, and increase the clarity. Now that really made it pop. Like I said, if you don't like it, you can always come over to the opacity and turn it down. One thing I like to do is once I've done this and I like it, I'm going to change the blending mode to usually an overlay on this upper level stuff. And you see that's like, what? That's pretty harsh. But we can come in here to the opacity, and what my eye sees the best is to change that opacity all the way down and then push it up. You see that right there? That's just instant depth and detail. Love it. Love it. Merge down. So this stuff right here is pretty cool because we can, once again, come in here to filter, color range. Select that, select the next plus because we're going to add more, and just keep clicking on this little bright stuff here. Just some of this down here. Adjust our fuzzy slider until our stars basically disappear. Our portion of our nebula we want to work on is left. Cool. Select the mask. Feather it out. We can pull our shift of it edges in just a little bit. Okay. Zoom back out and go layer, new, layer raw copy. On this I want to take straight into the camera raw filter. And I'm going to really increase the clarity. I'm going to boost the exposure and increase the contrast because this is where my details are at. Boost the vibrance, boost the saturation, and dehaze actually increases detail. And go to the details tab. Even though you can't see anything, you're going to see the results. And if you don't like the results, you just start over. Increase the noise reduction, color noise reduction, and then boost the sharpening. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty cool. But I think we can probably give ourselves a little more detail just in that area. So we're just going to jack that clarity up. There we go. Huge difference. Huge, huge difference. And like we've just worked on that. The rest of our image is just left alone. I mean, to me, that's pretty badass because you've got good depth. Got some good highlights. This looks like this is lighting up the edges of this. Loving it. McDonald's. That was dumb. I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, I like that. And if we want to, we can change that blending mode to like a soft light to give it a little more color or an overlay. I like that too. Right there. Kind of flat, vibrant. We can also come in here when we've got this selected. So everything that we're doing is selected. We're doing just to this layer. So which is basically a copy put on top of the layer below it. So the opacity can show some of what's coming through on the bottom, but you can change it to 100% and see nothing. It's almost like redoing it and stamping it on top. We can come in here to image, adjustments, match color. And we can come over here to color intensity. And our luminance. And this right here probably needs to get toned down, so we're gonna move that layer down. Color range. We want to choose that right there because it's getting pretty bright. And like for those of you doing like Orion Nebula or Andromeda Galaxy where the cores get real blown out, the trapezium gets real blown out, this is good, but just kind of go back in and spot, kind of tone that down. So we grab just that, select, select a mask, feather it, okay, layer, new, layer by copy, so we can just come in here to adjustments, curves, and then just bring that down. See how that, blowing it out, we're just bringing it down. Let's just add more detail. Okay. Cool. Merge down. So I'm kind of not really digging our background. We've got a lot of crap in here. You can see some of this splotchiness. So with that selected mask tool, we can also come in here and go select color range. And just come in here and choose like, especially like down here. Boom, right there. Adjust that fuzziness slider until we start seeing it kind of for what it is. We're not in there. Click OK. So now we've chosen everything in the background here minus our nebula. And we're going to, even though it's a big selection, we're still going to feather that in. Okay. So that's selected. We can isolate it, or we can just come in here, which I think I want to do. Bring in a layer, new, layer by copy. So with that isolated, we come in here to filter, camera raw filter. Can't see much, it doesn't matter. All we know is what we want to do is we want to drop our exposure down. We want to increase our contrast. And we want to increase our dehaze. And then we're going to run some more noise reduction. We're going to really boost that to about 50%. Click OK. Boom. Big time different. Bland. Blotchy. And now I've got good contrast. And look at our histogram. It's looking really good. So we're going to merge that back down. So at this point in time, I'm probably going to save this again. Save as. Process 2. Okay. So I like to come in here and kind of increase the details of this thing. So one good way to do that is to layer, flatten, duplicate this copy, and duplicate it again. On this top copy, we're going to come in here to filter, other, high pass. Move this to the side, and then we're just going to adjust the slider until we see just our details. And click OK. So with that, we're going to change the blending mode. I like to change it to soft light. So you can see that's it's increased the star color. It's a little too crunchy to me. So that's cool. We just pull our opacity slider over. All the effects are gone, and then we just push it up. And about there. Turn our visibility layer on and off. Cool. And then merge it down. Still think we got some haze down in here we can get rid of. So select color range. I know this seems like ultra boring, but we're just working this. This one here, we're probably not even going to feather that much, but what we can do is do Control H, hide that selection. I'm just going to do a real quick brightness. So increase the contrast, drop the brightness down. Just a little bit. See, because too much makes it just go plop. I want that to be feathered. But we don't want it that bright either. We want a little bit of contrast. Click OK. Now we see the faint dust of this nebulosity. We got a good background. We got a better background. Background. So another action, or another tool I like to use is called lab color. So our layer, all our layers flattened. And then our selection deselected. So our histogram peak is looking good. We're going to come in here to image mode, lab color. And in that we're going to use adjustment layers. So we're going to use the curves adjustment layer. So we got three choices. We got lightness, A and B. So in the lightness, we can boost. And then on the A side, we can bring this in. So everything's just pink. See what it does, but it's pretty hardcore. So now what we do is we're going to do that. We're going to select another adjustment layer and correct the histogram, and then we're going to do a selection that we're going to work on. Select color range and choose this interior stuff here. Just start closing this so you can see it. I got a little too white for me. Lost some of the color in some of these edges in here. I'm just going to choose OK. So in the A tab, we can slide it over. That brings it almost a pink. And then on the B side, I'll just bring like an orange flare. What this does is it really, to me, adds a lot of detail. And then we're going to come back to the lightness. You can drop that down a little bit. Do that. See if that's too much. You see the difference. It's kind of different. So we can do another adjustment layer. And we can go back in here and just select another color. Select that. Click OK. This again, we can correct histogram peak. See what it's doing, it's really. But we can give this more color. And the A, slide this over. See how much color that adds. It's almost too much, you gotta really watch it. Matter of fact, I don't think I'm gonna mess with that at all. So we're starting to get some kind of rough edges in here. And we can layer, flatten image, go image mode, back to RGB. We can duplicate that copy, filter, color range, select this inside color. Color here, click OK. Select the mask. Color that selection. Click OK. Layer, new, copy, filter, camera raw filter. And we're just going to really boost that luminous. Click OK. That's better. Let's look at our details, just smooth that out. So, I think I'm pretty well with the data that I have. That's pretty much all I'm going to get out of this one. Now that I've done that, I can come back in here and just run a few more tools like this action set. Run the tools action set. I'm going to run make stars smaller. Let's see what that does. It's going to take just a little bit. Just a skosh. You can see the effect I have. Like that. We're going to do a increase star color. And this one here, you're probably not going to see it jump off the page at you. Maybe a little bit. But it does help the eye. And the last one we're going to do, I like to run like the very end of this whole process, is less crunchy, more fuzzy. To me, just kind of smooths out your stars. They can get a little jagged from sharpening. We could spend a lot more time working on this, but this is just a quick kind of overview of some of the process steps I take. So very last, before I save this off as a PDF, I like to take the whole thing globally, nothing isolated, everything in the camera raw filter, and just make a little bit, tweak it, adjust the contrast. Maybe drop the highlights down a little bit to give it some depth. Decrease the shadows to kind of darken up the background a little bit. Drop the black down to kind of get some of that haze out of there. Negative, I mean, -1. I'm going to increase the clarity, which is going to brighten it. We're going to dehaze it just a little bit. Increase our vibrance. Just a little saturation on it. Come in here and do just a tiny little bit of sharpening. And then shouldn't be too much. We can kind of boost that luminous noise reduction to smooth it out in the color. And the luminous contrast. And we're going to click OK. So, to me, that kind of toned everything down, gave us some highlights in here. Got some details in here that I would probably spend more time working on, but for the most part, I think we got a pretty cool looking image there. We can actually probably come in here and adjust that opacity to maybe somewhere at 75%. And we're done. So I'll just save as process 3. Save. We can now go in here to File, Export as, and call this a JPEG. 100%. We can also downsize it if we want to. But I access Facebook through my phone, so basically what I would do from now is hook a USB cable up to the computer, transfer it over to the phone, do a little bit of phone adjustment because it compresses it, and then post it to Facebook. Say, look. I'm going to call this JPEG. Save. Okay, cool. I appreciate you watching.